what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Numminum, Milo, Mark Doxy, Jose, John, Jimbo, Eric, Chocolate Saiyan, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Hello.
Howdy.
Buenos dias.
Hello. So,
I still want to know why there's an obsession with everything being a material-based science.
Not everything is material-based.
Well, apparently some people do, and they have a problem with considering light and sound probably being more similar than we're told.
They're not. Sound is a displacement of a medium, right? Photons are particles.
By a wave,
No, they're energy.
nonetheless,
I have no proof
sound
they are
is
particles.
waves. Let's
Okay,
face it.
free for all, go.
One at a
Energy.
time.
I want you to prove that
Light is energy. There is
Arwin,
no
just one at a
proof
time.
of a particle.
One at a time. Milo was in the middle of a
Okay,
sentence.
yeah.
Sorry,
So I
go
was
ahead,
saying, show us proof of protons right now. Show us a
That's
picture of something.
Wait,
No,
I agree. I mean, how many people are looking for proof of a proton?
Show us that or something. Prove it. What's the observed phenomenon? How have we observed protons?
Protons have been chemically deduced. It's very complex
Exactly.
to actually prove
Just a
it.
model. Just a
Exactly.
model.
It's a model, indeed. Like
It's
Nami
all
said.
deduction, but I want John to show us that it's not deduction.
Yeah, but that's a problem with science. You
I
can
want- I
only go
want-
so far. Eventually, you will
hold
have
on.
to go to deduction-based assumptions,
I want him to
like
show
downward
us how,
acceleration force.
I want him to show us how empirical this is. Go ahead, John.
He's on mute at the moment. I don't know if he's even there. He could be going. You there,
He's
John?
not there?
He might not be. You know, just because he's here doesn't mean he's actually in front of his computer.
Oof, toasted a
The
fire
nuclear
for
model
real.
the nuclear model of the atom is a model. It's a model.
And it's based on
Exactly.
deductions. It's a pretty reliable model, but it is based on deductions.
It's
just
all
by
based
downward
on
acceleration
science.
force.
Reliable in
Science is
some
it's
situations,
deduction.
not in others. I mean, the thing is that if we're going to just argue about citations, there's all kinds of wacky shit that's cited in science papers, including that they've put a probe around Saturn and seen a hexagonal permanent storm
Right. Yeah,
on
I
the
seen that
North
one.
Pole. So it's like, if we
Right.
can't in any way verify these results for ourselves, why bother arguing it? This has nothing to do with flat Earth.
Exactly. You got to be consistent.
I have a video of amino acids being separated. Now, again, these are mixed isomers. They have the same mass, all of these things.
Is it
They're
CGI?
separated. No,
It's
it's
CGI.
laboratory, education, all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's CGI. You can't see single amino acids.
Yes, you can. The strips you take, and you take a solution of acid, you
Cool.
you
Present
wet
it.
it, and you see the vertical.
Hold up.
Present it.
Lots to it.
That's a
I mean,
representation.
I'd love to see it presented.
it's in the side. Someone
You gotta
please play
understand
this
something.
film.
Nummy Num
Someone
doesn't
please
believe in
play this.
genetics.
I'm just tired of
Nummy
the
Num
badgering.
denies genetics and
Hey,
genes.
John,
I don't
did you hear my
deny it.
question?
I say that
Right?
it's not.
It's in the
So
side.
there you go.
chat.
That's who
Someone-
you're talking to. See, Nummy
what?
Num denies
Everybody
genetics, right?
Yeah,
So
you deny
that's who you're
forces.
talking-
You deny forces, John.
Yeah, that's a bigger.
I didn't deny it. I never denied it. I just said I don't believe it. That's different.
John,
Yeah.
how about you
That
show
is
us
different.
empirically that protons exist? Empirically.
Genetics doesn't exist. Genes don't exist.
Forces don't exist.
I didn't say I never said genes don't exist. I said I doubt whether DNA in the form of the spiral single molecule exists. Obviously, genes exist, okay? Because genes is was an idea that's much older than the DNA model. When we argued about the DNA model,
Levi's, right? That's what you're
No,
talking
but see
about,
how you
Levi's.
DNA
just
can be
misquoted
observed in a microscope.
Wrangler jeans.
Talking about Wranglers.
Misrepresented what I said.
DNA can be observed in a microscope.
No, it can't.
Oh goodness.
Yeah,
It can.
I've seen
No,
it.
it can't. You cannot see DNA in a microscope.
If the microscope is powerful enough, definitely you can.
No, you can't. It's a single molecule. You can't see single molecules in a microscope. They don't have that.
DNA is not a single molecule.
Yes, it is.
I thought we should put that-
Ribonucleic acid is one
no.
molecule. The DNA molecule.
Sorry, you are correct. Let me correct myself. I was talking about chromosomes. Sorry.
Yeah. How about we stick to?
I've seen
photons?
chromosomes in a microscope.
No,
How
you
about we
haven't.
get back to photons?
Yeah, I have.
No, you haven't. You looked in
Yeah,
a
I
microscope
have
and
seen
saw a
chromosomes in a
chromosome crawling
microscope.
around. No, you didn't. That's
Yeah, I
bullshit. Nobody's even claiming you can do that. It's all representations that are based on like chemical
No,
analysis.
I'm not talking about a video. I'm talking about looking through a microscope,
haven't
putting a
seen-
plate under there,
Don't
and
look
then
through a
seeing it.
microscope and see chromosomes. Sorry, nobody's even claiming that. You're regurgitating wrong now.
No, I said I've seen it with a microscope
You
myself.
haven't seen it because that's not possible.
Oh, really? It's not possible.
No, it isn't. Nobody and no scientist would claim that it is.
Okay, let me find proof that contradicts that.
Let's. John, did you hear my question earlier? He's not there again. Great. So do you guys understand that if you take?
Oh, guess what I found here?
Hey,
Well,
somebody was
microscope
Arwen. Somebody was
off
talking one by
chromosomes.
one. Why are you always talking?
Oh, Aaron, I just wanted to say one thing.
Go ahead,
So
Marlo.
if you guys are going to give John's claims any weight, you'd have to give the Globe Earth some credit as well, because John is doing the same thing Globers do when they get on the show. You understand? We come here with citations and proofs, but you ask us for empirical evidence. John hasn't presented any of that. I just wanted to make that aware.
I
Talking
just want to
about-
ask Nami if that picture that I'm like presenting right now, if those first few photographs are CGI, according to you.
I don't know what they are, but you said you had seen it yourself.
Yeah,
and you
it looked exactly like that when I looked into the microscope.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I mean, you
And I
could literally
put the
see.
plate under there myself and didn't see anything before that.
Okay.
How do you know what you're looking at?
Which one?
Oh, you're
Because
looking
there
at
are
Looking at
there
what
are a
I
few
presume are chromosomes.
You're looking at that when you look at the.
So you're
microscope.
seeing parts of a molecule that's been split up. So they have okay.
Well, I don't know what they are, but they pretty much fill the description of what they say chromosomes look
You know
like.
what it looks like to me? Chopped up yarn.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll have to look into this more. I haven't examined this in quite some time, but
Yeah.
Shout out to Vinegar Strokes for the super chat. Thanks a million.
Be viewed under a microscope
Okay.
officially.
okay. So if it's so
Wait,
we can,
personally, just if I might, I think this whole DNA and genetics, I think it distracted us from, I think, bloods. I've looked into blood more, and it seems like the ruling elite have always been more obsessed with blood. So that's kind of like that's a red flag to me. Like, ooh,
Yeah, I
DNA.
agree with you.
And anybody who believes into this this genome project, like I've had people totally defriend me because they got a result back saying they were part Jewish, and I'm like there's Jewish genes, seriously, and
Yeah.
I don't like to hear that.
Yeah, they are.
But this whole
You is a religion, silly. There's no religion gene.
well,
No.
apparently there's a Jewish gene for some reason.
So, and yeah,
Semitic
it's a
gene.
ridiculous idea.
Not
completely
Jewish gene.
insane. It's a religion. Anyone can become a Jew.
No, it's Semitic gene. A Semitic.
Well,
So-
okay. Listen. There are. I think genes do have a play because, like, you know, a lot of people say, well, black people are prone to this disease and all that. But then you can break that down to further. And, like, you know, my mother's side of the family is prone to, for example,
Mhm.
diabetes, and my father's side is prone to arthritis. And okay, yeah, I get that. It's just
What is your family tree? What type of Jew?
don't know. I mean, me personally, it's mostly Mediterranean,
All right.
Native American. I don't know.
Okay, that makes sense.
Jewish is
European type Jew.
the
But
religion.
you do realize that they're giving people back like that. You know these what do they call them? These. And by the way, YouTube's sister-in-law is one of the, I forget which one it is, but something family tree whatever, and they people get stuff back that they're part Jewish. And then they even hide
They're
it.
partly a religion. They have
No. The bloodlines.
Yeah, well, so they see that people who have been in whose families have been part of religions for a long time are related. Yeah, big deal.
Well, I think they take it best. They say, wow, they see.
Jewish is a catch-all phrase.
Of course it is.
There
And
is
what you
the
have-
genetic lines
Not a catch-all phrase.
with
The
the
religion.
tradition, and there is just the religion.
It's just a religion.
No,
all
it's
it-
not just a religion.
Yes, it is just a
No,
religion.
that is now that is how people think about it right now. Like
That's not how people think about it right now, but it's how they should. So do you think the black
how
Nubians
they should. Okay, well,
Wait.
of
So-
Jewish bloodlines, or what about those Jews?
Are you claiming that there's a Jewish gene or Jewish blood or something that demarks somebody as Jewish?
Yes.
are we getting into eugenics now?
Well, yeah, because it seems like they're bringing eugenics back and they're making it trendy.
Nah, don't worry about it.
Anybody can become Jewish. They have to accept you. Just like
That's the Jewish religion.
if I go to the synagogue, I want
So
to be
there's a
Jewish.
Jewish
They have, to
religion.
let me, they have to let me be Jewish. Then I'm Jewish, and so now I've got Jewish genes. So it's silly.
But that's the religion. It's not exactly the same. There is Jewish bloodlines, and there is the Jewish.
Well,
religion.
yeah. Listen,
families of people who are Jewish. There's no Jewish.
Arwin,
There is. Sorry
Arwin,
to
there's
break it to you. It's
two
very
ways.
complex, but it is.
It's not
You know what
complex
he
at all.
means.
It's a
Yeah,
religion.
it
And
is.
there's people who are related to each other in the religion, and that makes sense. There's
Yeah,
no Jewish gene. It's silly.
You know
So
what
you're
he
mixing
Family
apples and
tree lines, the different branches. Yeah,
well, there's a lot of them
definitely.
that are totally unrelated because there's black Jews in the Nubian Jews.
I know.
In relation to the
I
European.
know.
Yes,
They're a
because they have
different
the
branch.
genes.
but Arwin, they're
Different
giving.
branch, they're just people somewhere else who are Jewish practicing the religion. It's not
No,
a
but
different
they
branch.
also
of it.
they also have a gene in common with the Jews in Israel. You
Yeah,
understand
I
that?
get that.
Which Jews in Israel? The dark-skinned Sephardic ones, the Eastern European usurpers, or the
Ashkenazi.
black?
Ashkenazi, but those are the Eastern European ones. That's where they
People
originate
who are
from.
Jewish, they resemble the people that live in the geographic regions that they emerge everywhere.
Arabic type people.
Exactly.
There's black.
You know what? I'm gonna do this test. I'm gonna get my daughter's DNA and send it in. I mean,
Look-
her mother's literally from China.
hey,
and she
Eric.
does not look Chinese.
Look, Jewish
Eric.
bloodlines and everything
Yes,
is like a giant
Hold up,
lore
Warren.
on its own. It's really
up, Warren.
complex, okay?
Hold up, Warren.
I
Eric.
think you've got to also realize that
Yeah,
over
right.
many generations, you have over 1 million ancestors. The whole thing just gets diluted over like a period of 500 years. To the
I
point
think it's a big
have
sin.
Can I
Sorry.
say something?
ancestors that have that don't show up whatsoever in whatever
Can I say something?
analysis you want to make. Yeah.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
All right. So Eric, the thing about these genetic tests is one testament to them being accurate is you as a white dude, you're not gonna get back a result saying that you're black.
Of
You know?
course, I know that. Of course.
So that adds to the validity. What'd you say?
Yeah, it's I mean, listen. I'm sure there's some science to it, but I'm
like
gonna,
yeah.
I'm
it's
gonna
probably
call
not 100%.
75%
How did we get from light being a particle or not to the Jewish bloodlines?
Because
Well, quite right. I was going to interject at that point, actually, as we've been interrupted by, well, not interrupted, joined by Anthony, I should say. So I'll say a quick hello to Anthony. How you doing, Anthony? Can you hear us?
Yo.
Hello, good to have you. Hopefully you can bring this subject back onto Flat Earth. We shall see.
Yeah, I do have a question because I've missed the first show completely. I've only just got back home, but I wanted to know when you did housekeeping and you asked
Didn't.
a question about evidence of gravity. Did anybody mention Slice Barkane's Cavendish
You
experiment?
got into that.
Anthony, I watched the video, by the way.
You watched this video?
Yes, I did.
I watched it too, and I've asked him, "What can he tell me what the current accepted science is to explain what gravity is?" because there's two definitions. There's the Newtonian principle, which is that objects of mass attract other objects of mass, and there's the Einsteinian one, which is the bending of space-time. And obviously, I prefer the bending of space-time because that's like unobtainium. You can't ever
Can I ask
prove
you something though?
I've got some space time to bend. Anybody want to come over to my house, have a few beers, and do an experiment? I got some.
Yeah,
space
sure.
time around.
Well, Anthony.
Yeah,
you-
but
so
we
you-
were talking in our debate was actually about downward acceleration force. So
Right.
don't
Downward
straw man
acceleration
that.
force. Have you got any evidence for
No.
the force?
Yeah,
So-
I do.
So Anthony,
But some people
Yeah,
don't
challenge.
believe in force and try to scientifically disprove it, and then they failed miserably.
so Anthony, you challenged me to watch this video, right?
Oh, right. Who am I speaking to? I can't see any names.
Milo.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I remember it. It was the Brian Mullins one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched the
Okay.
video and you said that he debunked the Cavendish with that video, correct?
I'd have to. I can't remember what his points were. Remind me what the points were, so I can remind myself.
Well, that's the thing. I don't even think he was attempting to debunk the Cavendish experiment. I think he was just outlining some problems with the test and how he would do it better.
That's not an experiment.
That's all. That's all he
Well, okay,
did.
okay, all right. I'll concede. Let's carry that on. I'll concede
Gravitational
that
pull.
the Brian Mullen video didn't debunk anything. Okay. Let's go back to the
Right,
definition
well-
of gravity as per science currently. Do we know what is the current definition for gravity in terms of science?
Well, if you want to stick to the Cavendish, it's mass attracts mass.
Is that the current science?
I don't want that.
Well, what's
Is that
wrong
the
with that,
current
Arlen?
science, or has it been
It's unproven.
superseded?
It's ridiculous.
What's wrong with the Cavendish experiment?
I'm
It's
just asking, what
kooky,
is the definition
it's
for science
ridiculous, it's
for gravity
unreliable.
these days? Is it
It's not an
Newtonian or is it
experiment, is the
Einsteinian?
biggest reason.
Hey John, show us a photon. If you can't, then you could just be quiet.
Sorry,
It's not
the
an
question in
experiment.
hand is what is the current definition of gravity?
Per science. What does science tell us gravity is?
Now that Riley's here, maybe I can ask and add the question about the container that the brine solution, egg, and the freshwater solution
Yeah,
are in.
Yes, definitely,
And
Jimbo. We'll definitely come back to that.
Containing and
We will,
being
Jimbo,
part of
Jimbo,
the force
Jimbo.
and
We will
equivalence
definitely come back to it. But in the meantime, can we just let the question in hand be what is the current
Yes.
scientific explanation or definition for gravity? We will come back to your now Anthony's here. Yes, noted.
Great, thank you.
So, does anybody want to volunteer what the current science is for the current understanding for gravity?
I can read it right out of what am I here on the British definition here?
Okay, go on.
Well, only do it in Oxford English.
That's what I'm doing on the back.
Not
It's-
American. You have to do the accent.
I used the British one. That's why I'm not a dumb Yank. or
British one.
bloody shit.
And next define it
British
in
one.
via the standard model of physics after your definition here. Okay? Thanks.
Number one, it is out of physics. Okay, it's the force that attracts a body toward the center of the Earth. Of course. That's presumption. Sorry,
So
I had
what-
to interject. Or toward any other physical body having mass. For most
So can
purposes,
I-
Newton's laws of gravity apply for most, with minor modifications to take the general theory of relativity into account. So they're trying to put Einsteinian. It's based on Newton still, and they're throwing a bit of Einsteinian in there.
Because they're both correct.
Oh, man, yeah.
Hang on. I've got look at my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
It's like the difference between pounds and kilograms. It's just you apply it in different places.
Well, can you guys see my screen?
What? What?
Can you see my screen?
No. What, you apply them? Wait, I want to hear that again. That statement. You just between pounds and kilos. You just apply that. There's a huge difference. Oh my god,
Nonsense.
that was weird. Anyway, yes, we can see how Einstein revealed the universe's strange non-locality.
So look at the dates.
Theorized,
November the 1st,
not
2015.
revealed, Theorized.
Pardon?
Einstein didn't reveal anything. He theorized.
He also didn't debunk Newtonian physics either. So
Oh, debunk. That's one of the words I just anybody who debunks. When I hear a debunk on any side of an argument, I just Personally, I think it's
yeah, it's the most overused word.
Now,
I get
third
it.
graders debunked
Let's just
Einstein
can
and,
we
and
go through
quantum
this? Just
mechanics. Put
give me
the
a couple
final
of minutes.
death
Let's go
knell
through
into
this.
Yeah, but you can't even prove quantum mechanics, so you could be quiet.
So let me just go
Anthony,
through this,
show us
just so that
something. I
people in
can't see
chat can
your
benefit from it.
icon.
So it's dated 2015. It's quite recent, according to a guy called George Musa. This is in the scientificamerican.com website, right? It's entitled Space. How Einstein revealed the universe
no
is
bias
strange.
here whatsoever, right?
Pardon?
Not at all.
Nah, but
Scientific
what's interesting is about the words that they use in it, right? Everyday life, distance, and location are mundane absolutes, yet physics now suggests at the most fundamental level that universe is non-local. There is no such place as space or distance. Initially, Isaac Newton's concept of gravity seemed to imply the phenomenon of non-locality because the attractive forces between masses appeared to act magically
Oh,
across
Jesus Christ.
expanses.
Jesus Christ. How can you
Sorry,
read?
I got stuck
Please
on that
let him
picture right
finish.
there.
Why don't you let him finish?
Yeah, why are you both
Yeah, come
interrupting
on.
him? Arwen and Eric. I've got you. Why
Who's
are you
this
coughing?
clown? Who's this clown, Eric?
Sorry, go
Shut
ahead.
up.
Okay, will do.
So Albert Einstein's general relativity instead ascribed gravity to the curvature of space-time, yet it induced a deeper sense of non-locality by showing that space-time positions have no intrinsic meaning. Now, watch what it talks about here. I'll have to let me just see. This is quite a big document. I want to find the part where it talks about. I might have to do a search actually. Let's just do a search, and we'll add the guy's name, Newton. So, for instance, Einstein created his general theory of relativity, which provides our modern understanding of gravity. Right. So the modern understanding of gravity is the bending of space-time, gentlemen. It's got nothing to do with Isaac Newton's force
You're
attracting
wrong.
mass or mass
Wrong.
attracting force. So
Wrong.
with the express purpose of expunging non-locality from physics, Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance, as if by magic, and general relativity snapped the wand in two by showing that the curvature of space-time, and not an invisible force, gives rise to gravitational attraction. So if Einstein's theory of general relativity is that it snaps the invisible force of gravitational attraction in half, then all these experiments that are claiming to be experiments that are not actually experiments to do with the Cavendish, according to Einstein, are useless because it's got nothing to do with the force that attracts things together, masses towards each other. It's to do with the curvature of space-time. So for to prove, it gets worse for you guys, because if you guys are to prove that gravity is a thing, no longer is it a mass that forces an attraction towards another mass. Now you guys have got to bend space-time. So I'm looking forward to all the recent up-to-date modern interpretations of bending space-time to prove gravity, gentlemen. Any questions?
Anthony,
That means you're a clown.
yes, I have a
Milo.
question.
That's
I have
what
a
he
question.
just said, basically.
Go
I have
ahead,
a
Milo.
question.
Go ahead,
Do you
Milo.
think this debunked Newton's gravity?
According to this article, the current definition
No.
for gravity is the bending of space-time. It is not the force that attracts masses.
No. So what Newton did was show that mass attracts mass, and what Einstein did was explain
didn't.
why.
No,
No, John, you could be quiet.
no, sir.
John, you
Because
could be quiet.
Newtonian gravity is in Euclidean 3 space. Einsteinian gravity is pseudo-Ramonian 4 space. Newtonian gravity travels at what? Instantaneously.
Right.
Einsteinian gravity is what? Can't exceed the speed of light. You couldn't get more two different things
Right.
if we did it on purpose, you clown.
Right. So you can be quiet now. So
Right.
Isaac
So
Newton
Milo, just so that I know
showed-
that you've understood this, read what's on screen highlighted.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance as if by magic. So at that time, we did not know why gravity worked. Why? We didn't know
Hang on.
why.
You didn't read. Can you read the second part?
Yeah, you didn't seem to read the rest of it, Milo. Can you read the entire paragraph from start to finish so that we know that you A, have read it, and B, have understood it? Thank you.
I'm going to read it. All right. So from Newton's understanding, he didn't know the why.
You're not reading it. You're now saying something else. Yeah? So we want you to read the paragraph that is highlighted in blue. It starts
Let
with the
me
word
continue.
Isaac Newton's.
just
Anthony,
put it off the
can you put it
screen.
back up on screen?
Hello, shut up.
trying.
Anthony,
Is it gone?
Anthony, you've just
I'm
taken it
trying.
off screen like you typically do at just the wrong moment.
Sorry.
Anthony,
Come
thanks a
on,
bunch.
one at a
Oh.
time.
So, Milo, what we would like you to do, right? I don't care how long it takes. You will read this paragraph for the audience,
I'm gonna
so
read
we
it.
know you've A,
I'm
read
gonna read
it, and B, understood it.
I am going to read it. All right. I want to make sure you understand it. So, okay. As if by magic and general relativity snap the one and two by showing the curvature of space-time and not an invisible force give rise to gravitational attraction.
That's excellent.
Right.
Very well read. Do you,
Now-
Milo, understand what that means in terms of objects of mass attracting
have to
one another?
understand.
Yes or no?
Mass- No, you have to understand that.
Oh, I have to understand, do I? I'm asking you if you've understood it, and you're telling me what I need to understand, even though you're the one that's now reading the paragraph, and we're asking
Hey,
part
Milo.
B. Do you
I'm gonna ask
understand
you.
it?
I'm going to tell you what that paragraph means. You understand?
It's self-explanatory. Yeah, but you seem
Milo,
to deny
listen. Milo, listen. Just read the last bit in blue, please.
it. Yeah, he's never going to read it. He's just going to jabber and jabber and
Read it
jabber
again.
indefinitely.
I'll read it again.
No, just a
Isaac
bit in blue.
Newton's
Come on.
gravity acted at a distance as if by magic. What does that sentence mean?
It means that
Well-
Newtonian gravity is like magic. Yeah?
Yeah.
Nonsense. Magic. Stuff that you can pick apart and figure out how the smoke and mirrors work.
Not what it
That's
means.
magic.
That's not what it means. That's not
Yeah, magic. Yeah, I did magic at college. I know what magic is. Smoke and mirrors, my friend. Deception.
Not what it
Forgery.
means.
I studied
Wait,
magic.
Sentence,
Oi,
sentence.
Milo, I studied magic. I absolutely assure you I know what magic is. It's smoke and mirrors, my friend. It's deceiving people into thinking that the unexplainable has happened when it is actually very much explainable.
I'll read it
Nathan,
again.
wait,
Are
Nathan,
you rumpusses, Milo?
I'll read it
Nathan.
again.
let
Are you
Milo.
rumpusing?
Eric,
Let
I'm never
Milo
going to get
read
through it.
No,
I'll
no,
never
wait.
get through
I
it.
want you to go piece by piece and translate it into English. Okay.
Hey, I don't think they're going to allow me to. You know?
That's
So
what I
I'll
want
try.
to hear you.
Why do we need a translation? It is in English, Eric. You absolute buffoon.
I'll
No
try.
need for any translation, my friend. It's not in Spanish.
No, you want to
Just,
misunderstand
Milo,
it on
just
purpose.
do me a
It's
favor, Milo,
in
for me.
English. We don't need
Milo.
it translating. It's in English.
Milo,
I'll
just for
explain
me,
it.
mate. Just read this line in
Well,
blue.
let's translate it to Milo. Let's hear Milo.
No, we don't need to translate it to retard.
There we go. So you see, Eric? I'm not going to get through it. That's okay.
Okay, so I'll do it for you then, Milo. The workings
No,
of gravity
You're going to
turn out
misunderstand it.
to
So,
be
no,
sparkling with a non-local phenomena. What that tells you is that we're never, ever, 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 ever
move on.
going to be able to repeat it. Ever. Because it's
we can
non-local.
move on.
Correct.
You want to misunderstand things? That's fine.
Not
I'm
misunderstanding. It's
wrong.
called reading. He's read it off screen. You refused to and gave us a load
No,
of grief.
it's called misunderstanding.
No, it's called reading. It's not misunderstanding. The words are there. You can read them or deny them.
It's
That's
called
your choice.
misunderstand them. So I could go.
So
let me
this
go,
is
let me go
Milo.
sentence by sentence. No, Jose,
So
you can
this
stop.
is
You
no,
can
this
stop,
is
Jose.
you. No, you're not gonna tell me
No,
I
no,
can
no,
stop just
you
like
stop,
that.
Jose.
No, no,
You
you're
stop.
not the
You
no, no,
stop.
you're not the host of the
You're not gonna
show.
say anything worth
So,
hearing. So you
yes, I'm
stop.
going to say something. All
Go
right.
ahead.
So what you want is to read this line, and you want to interpret it the way you understand it, and you
No,
want us
you
to
guys are
accept it all.
interpreting it
And you
too.
want I haven't finished it. And you want us
Okay.
to all accept the interpretation that you know, that you accept, and that's it. Period. Because you're
And
right,
you-
right? Because you know.
And you want us to accept your interpretation of what's being said. You understand that?
No,
You-
we don't accept it either. We tried this earlier and tried to explain how quantum mechanics debunks Einstein, so we don't accept this. Yeah, but this is you and your acceptance of current science. That's why we're using it against you.
I accept this whole paragraph.
Oh, really? Well, then, in that case, objects of mass don't attract one another. That's just magic.
Hey, that's not what the paragraph is
Yeah,
saying.
it did. It specifically said that it was like magic. Do you want to bring it back up, Anthony? Let's just read it one more time. Obviously, when Milo read it, he didn't understand it. That's why he obfuscated when I got to part B. Did you understand it, Milo? Obfuscation, obfuscation, obfuscation. Yeah? Do you see what's on screen, Milo? Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance, as if by magic.
Now
Way!
it's no longer magic. Once
Smoke
you-
and mirrors, deception, a little trick, yay, magic, yay. Not reality, Milo. You didn't seem to understand that bit.
Look,
If I say as if by magic, am I being a nice person or am I being sarcastic?
Yeah, we don't need an analogy. It's in English. Thank you. I already told you it's not in Spanish. No need for a translation, Eric.
what they're meaning to say is that the why was unknown. So
Really? So you don't know why gravity? That's an interesting statement to make, Milo.
what?
As if
So
by
that's what they
magic,
meant,
an analogy.
As if by
It is not
magic.
literal.
Yeah, as if by magic.
Oh, and can I just add something here? I know that Milo's getting his arsehole ripped a new one, but let me just add something else.
Go on,
If
Anthony.
gravity was this downward acceleration force, how does that now change in light of the current science according to 2015?
Don't get that involved.
There's
Has
no
nothing to do
force.
with any of this.
So why
now.
Hold on.
explain to me?
No,
defending
give him a
what
let's give him
Einstein-
turns to be triggered. Right, who first, Milo or Arwin? Who's the most triggered?
I'll go first. So
I think you've been outvoted with
what
who's
bends-
most triggered.
what
You're more
bends
triggered. You
space-time?
go ahead. You can't seem to help but talk, Milo, so you go first.
It's a low blow, Nathan.
Right.
I know you're equally triggered, Arwin. You don't need to fight for who's most triggered over this. I know it's annoying to both of you.
Okay, so by Einstein's understanding, what is bending space-time? What?
Who cares? This is the current scientific understanding and it debunks objects of mass attracting one another like magic.
Einstein answered the why. Newton.
No, he
made the
didn't. He
observation.
redefined it, you
You
moron.
understand?
Read what it says. Look, read it again. Start again. Come on. This
Although we
bit
need to
here.
go back a step. Milo, when you read, do you have the powers of comprehension?
Do you?
Well, yeah, I can read and comprehend words
You
on
obviously
screen.
don't.
Yes.
You obviously
Yes,
don't.
my
It's
answer is
pretty
yes,
ob-
Milo. Now you try. Do you have the power of
You're
comprehension?
obviously dumb. Oh,
Yeah, you are obviously dumb if you lack the powers of comprehension. Part B was read and understand. Clearly, you don't understand. That much is clear.
At the point where Isaac Newton proved his mass attracted mass, he did not know why.
He didn't prove mass attracts mass. He didn't have a valid scientific experiment. Do you understand that, Milo? How many times have we got to smash the living daylights out of the Cavendish experiment before you will actually understand that they didn't have a valid scientific experiment?
He did not understand why mass attracted mass.
I don't need you to tell me that mass attracts mass. The current understanding in science is that that's magic, my friend.
It was as if by magic.
Yeah, as if by magic. Yes, finally we get to some comprehension. Excellent. So you understand that it's as if by magic. Wonderful. Some progress at last. So objects of mass attracting one another is like magic.
No, as if.
Yeah, as if by magic. Yeah, as if by magic.
Yeah,
Because
it's incomplete. They didn't know yet.
Well, what's the evidence of space-time fabric?
There is
Hang on, let's dwell on this point first because we can enjoy this and dwell on magic for weeks.
Because
there is no magic. It is as if. Because
There is no magic, there is no force, there is no gravity. Yes, that's absolutely right. I love it. This is good fun, Anthony. Thanks for joining.
No worries.
No worries. Who should we pummel? I mean, to be fair, Arwin was in the queue for a pummeling.
Well, see, the thing is, I like
no,
how
no, no. Don't bring this back
Smartest
to me.
people.
You are misinterpreting his words.
When we were figuring out who was the most triggered, Arwin, you were fully piping up, my friend. So, right, we've got this magic, this force that's like magic, Arwin. Downward force, right? Like you think
probably
we've
one of
got.
the
let me
smartest
talk.
people on this whole panel. I'll tell you that right now. He's one of the.
Milo, you've had your turn to be triggered. Your ass has already been ripped a new one. Shut up.
Yeah, me and Arwen are ripping.
Shut up, Milo. Yeah, you've already had your tongue lashing. Shut up.
Drink a warm
Darwin's
glass.
turn. Bloody
Yeah,
sadists,
Darwin.
all of you.
I want to,
Am I
Milo.
going to be Eric?
Masochists, get it right way around. Of
Am I going to be allowed to say something without being immediately interrupted?
course.
Just asking.
Go ahead.
Right. So what Milo was stating is that this statement is a sign of incompletion, and there has apparently, according to him, been a further explanation built upon this concept because it is at this point incomplete. That is what the as if as magic stands
Wrong.
for. That is all. Doesn't mean
So
that it actually
Milo-
proven.
Anthony,
Hey,
highlight
hey,
not.
Hey,
Milo
I
gave
wasn't
this
finished
paper.
yet.
Yeah, you are finished.
No, I am not finished.
Before you got in.
You guys don't know.
Go
how
on,
to
John.
read.
Hold on.
You gotta go-
Hold
you gotta
on.
go
We've had a
one
lot of
idea
everyone
at a time.
else. Come on,
One
John's
idea
been
at
very
a time.
patient. Just let John have a few words. Come on.
No, I'm not finished yet. It's still my time to be triggered. Anthony wanted to bring in the downward acceleration force that has nothing to do with this
Big
whatsoever.
rabbit hole. We don't want to go there now.
Absolutely nothing to do with any of this.
That's exactly what
Thank
it's
you.
talking about. Downward acceleration force in the world of heliocentricity is the object of mass that we stand upon, attracting the objects of mass that are not upon it. So that's exactly what we're talking about. While you defy it, Arwin...
Nothing to do with it. Don't
That's what they
put
define it
don't
as,
bump us
Arwin.
to
We
hang
established
out.
this
Don't put
earlier.
words-
If you want to redefine it, that's fine. But you have to come up with definitions and experimental proof for it.
Downward acceleration force. It has nothing to do with mass being attracted to other mass, which this entire body theory here is surrounded around. And my downward acceleration force has nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's a
Newton's
real low
force.
blow to involve this because
It's Newton's
I don't.
force.
Didn't listen.
Hey, Anthony, go highlight not a force.
You don't believe in force.
Highlight
Yeah,
that.
so you could just be quiet. You don't believe in any
Neither-
force.
neither
The
do
point
we.
is that Arwin's defining it using these terms and then simultaneously saying, these aren't my terms.
I don't.
Milo tell us the meaning of the paper. I will tell us what Milo means.
You wouldn't
That's
understand-
crazy.
You wouldn't understand anything I told you, so you could just be quiet as well.
Well, that's a wonderful rebuttal, Milo, about as useless as a fart in a jacuzzi.
Triggered.
Nathan, you drink
Wow.
piss, so you can just be.
Yeah, that's a brilliant ad hominem attack. You are scraping the barrel after having your arse ripped. Yeah? Do you want us to stamp on your head again with this absolute garbage that you think happens? This fantasy magic that you think exists? Shut up!
Oh, look, trigger.
Shut up, Milo.
Alwyn hands you a
Shut
new one
up,
every time.
Milo. Milo, you petulant little brat. Shut up.
He's a crayon muncher, man.
Yeah, he's a crayon muncher. Go back
Yeah,
to
now
your
you're ad
scribbles,
hominem him.
crayon
You don't
muncher.
need to. You don't need to ad hominem at all. You don't need to
Oh,
humiliate
we
him
didn't
all.
ad hominem.
You
We
just
gave
need to
reasons
remind
why.
him that he has no proof for mass
Wait,
being
wait, wait.
attracted to other
Let's
mass
finish
and
the
leave it to
paragraph.
that.
Wait.
All this
This is
ridiculousness.
Guys, stop,
getting-
Arwin,
stop,
be quiet for a
stop.
second.
This is
Arwin.
all below
Stop.
any of it.
Arwin,
This
we
is
had
silly.
Milo
Arwin.
read this. Now, Arwin, would you mind reading this bit that's highlighted in blue,
Wait,
please?
wait, can I read the
No, I
last
don't care
sentence?
for the pseudoscience.
The last sentence is so magical. It's so
I don't care for any of this pseudoscience.
the workings of gravity turn out to be as sparkling. Oh my god, my feelings.
Do you
right-
believe in magic?
I get, yeah, some people call it
Depends
science.
on how you define magic, but it has nothing to do with my
Oh, come
theory,
on, it doesn't really.
with my
We can
concept
all
of
have
downward
any
acceleration.
Good
interpretation of
song.
magic and know what it
Whatsoever.
means.
That's a good song, man. Do you
Could
believe
it
in
be
magic?
magic now?
Yeah.
It all
Yeah.
depends on how you
Muff and
define it.
spoonful.
So, Arwin, could you read this bit in blue, please, and tell us how you
No.
interpret it?
I interpret it as pseudoscience. It has nothing to do with anything
It
that
has your
I work
force in
with.
there.
Yeah, but with regards to your gravitational downward acceleration force that you
It
keep
has
citing,
nothing to do with it.
Force.
It
is
has everything to
slaps
do
all
with
over
it.
by
No, it
snapping
doesn't.
it
Can
down.
I have 1 minute on this one?
Sure.
Again,
Everyone else has.
No.
and it
snaps
does
it
relate to the egg and the solution and stuff.
Oh,
Could
goodness.
you actually put it up on the
God.
screen? Because I want to go one step further with this.
How much
Hold
drugs
on.
do you take,
Well,
dude?
I
You
just want to
smoke
hang on,
some.
hang on. While I've got this on
Yeah,
screen, I'd rather see
I think
Arwin's
you'll-
one
you know,
snapped
you'll
in
find
two.
Hold
the
on.
one
No.
extra
Let's get
step
some
a
order.
little
Hold on,
interesting.
guys.
Hold on a
right.
second.
Hold on. Let's just round this out with Arwin, then John. Then we can move on to something that Jimbo's been waiting an eternity to do. So, Arwin, can you respond? Then we can move on to John. Then we can get to Jimbo.
So, Arwin, read this paragraph and tell us particularly snapping the wand, this bit here, because this is your gravitational force, your downward gravitational force bit. Tell us what this means.
That's a straw man.
Why,
All
lad?
right, read it. Jeez.
He's
Go
not
on,
going
Arwin.
to. He's refusing, so
I
fine.
have
I'll read it.
nothing to do with this. Why should I read this?
I
Well,
can
if you
read
don't
it.
want to, fine, no
Your
problem,
downward
Arwin. Let's just
acceleration
move
force.
on. Let's just move on to John. Then we can get to Jimbo finally.
Okay, I'll read it. Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance as if by magic, and general relativity snapped the wand in two by showing that the curvature of space-time, that is the cause, and not an invisible force, gives rise to gravitational attraction. Have a nice day. Good
Thank
night.
you.
There is no
Right.
force, Arwin.
Goodbye.
Let's move on.
Goodbye.
Let's move.
Travis,
No,
mate.
no, that's it. That's the end of that. Right, Jimbo, you've got
Thank
it
you.
on the same lines, but it's a different aspect. So, Anthony, while Jimbo summarises his point, is there any chance you can bring up Phuket Word's egg in 2 glasses test, please?
So are they implying that space-time curvature is visible somehow?
It's a nonsense, Nummy. I agree. We can cross that bridge another day. Come on,
He was
please
trying
give me
to
a
prove
break.
what causes gravity.
Yeah,
Right.
well,
This is
Okay.
a great video. Phuket
Right.
World does really great.
Can you just
real
hold on,
world
everybody?
stuff.
Just let Jimbo. Please don't interrupt him. Jimbo, go
Oh,
ahead.
The eggs again.
Can you just
Okay.
explain your point to
When
Anthony?
we get to the one where the egg is suspended in this cylinder, now it's open to the air. Now it's easy to imagine a lid on it, and our ability to increase the pressure, the air pressure. Now, that increase in air pressure in a sealed volume will affect the egg in the water and where it floats and its buoyancy. It'll apply a downward force or an upward force, depending on whether you reduce or increase
A force, did you
the
say?
pressure.
A force.
Apparently,
Well,
if,
John, you
if
gotta
you
object
increase
to
the
that because you don't
pressure-
use the force.
Arwin!
I thought we
but
Arwin,
you're
just give him a
you're
break.
increasing the
Arwin, you
pressure
had
of
an
the air
opportunity.
above the egg and the saline, and that changes the relative pressure on the outside of the egg, and it will move in consequence.
Exactly. You know, Arwen, when you say force, you're talking about Star Wars crap, okay?
No, I'm
Come
not.
on, Eric.
Yes, you are.
No,
I
you're
just
not,
want to
Eric.
get. I just want to
talking
get this out of the
about
way because otherwise it's unreasonable
Force
on Jimbo.
caused by mass
Eric and
times
Arwin, please. I
acceleration.
just
That's what
want
I'm talking
Anthony
about
to
when I talk
respond
about
to it.
forces.
Come on,
you're
it's
talking
being
about
levelled at Anthony.
calculations.
Just let Jimbo get to the end of his point. Let Anthony respond. Then it's free for all.
Yeah,
missed
well,
the
point
question.
is, you know, without, you know, even this one's open air, like I say, it could be sealed and it could be pressurized. And varying the pressure will vary where that egg adjusts to.
Will it?
I'm pretty sure.
I'd like to
Right.
see the
Yeah, it will do,
experiment.
'cause
I'm
it'll heat the
denying that,
water.
but I have a hard
Yeah.
time understanding how that would work if it's based on the dissolved
The,
electrolytes in the water.
the egg is a shell. It has a certain internal pressure.
Yeah, but you're not going
If
to.
its volume can't change and the pressure of the solution around it changes, its internal
Yeah, but what's your
pressure,
point?
Yeah, but
what's
the
your point
water's
that you
not
want me to
compressed.
answer?
density,
So how is pressurizing the
the
air?
air
gonna
is
affect the
increasing
egg?
the pressure on the sides of the container, on the surface of the solution, everywhere.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think that's going to mean the egg's going to float in a different place. I
I'm
mean,
not sure, but I suspect it would. It'd be interesting to see that one done with a lid and pressure.
yeah, it would be.
But
You could do it.
Am I right in saying there is no question or point? It's just making a point. Is that right?
I'm making a point. Like I say, this experiment is contingent on another thing that, well, is like an imposter in this scene. It's the containers themselves. We see them
Oh,
open
man.
and at a normal atmospheric pressure, but even if you increase the atmospheric pressure on this volume with the egg suspended, it would act like a barometer. It would rise and fall with the relative air density.
Yes.
So
Air
what?
pressure.
That's
It would
not
function the same
exerting
under
a
this-
force that's
under
gravity on
different
it, though, which
pressures.
was the
That's
point.
correct.
I don't think it would because the liquid is not compressed.
Oh, it would. It would.
That is true. You cannot compress
So
water.
I think that what you'd get
That is true.
is that you'd get a problem where if you just increase the stress on the container, you wouldn't affect the compression. You wouldn't affect the water pressure.
Yeah, you can't compress water. It's one of the unique elements
so
of water.
if you why would adding air pressure change the relative buoyancy of the egg in the water when you can't compress? You're not going to be able to compress the water anymore. That doesn't make any sense. I'd like to see this experiment, but I predict the opposite of what you're predicting.
Yeah, it's going to function exactly the same in a stationary setting.
Gases are
Yeah, but
compressible.
In any
That's what-
event,
it's
it's
so
irrelevant
special.
because the point of this video is to show that by varying the density of the water, the egg displaces the water around it, or the water displaces the egg. Either way, there's no force of
But that's
gravity.
not
here.
exactly news.
But if the air
Exactly. Why are we
pressure
talking
and
about this?
was different, that's a conditional and a condition
would
that can
function the
exist that
exact same.
that would vary the
Sure.
result of
No, it
buoyancy
wouldn't.
of the egg. Well,
No,
would
but
have
no,
to
it
be
the
wouldn't.
point
done.
is, it's
But
gravity
you'd increase
related
the
that
Seems
we're
to me
stress
trying
that
to
there are
show.
instruments
All
that,
you
that
do
work on pressure and air pressure.
No, you'd
and
change.
floats
No,
and-
but it's
and-
the container.
It's every
The
time.
container
It's every time
increases
Jimbo
stress on
talks.
the container.
It ends up being 3 people talking when Jimbo tries to. I never seem to hear a full sentence from Jimbo. I don't know what it is about your voice, Jimbo, but people just talk over you.
Too slow.
Yeah, too slow.
Yeah.
Seriously, speed it up, dude.
Well, like
Are
I
you
say,
tired?
the air pressure over this
Oh, man.
example would vary. You know, you could actually increase, decrease, I believe, the air pressure over an enclosed system, and that egg would rise or fall, depending.
How would
Are you
that
Phil
be?
Stein?
Prove it.
Are you Phil Stein, dude? This
Well,
guy
at
sounds
least
like
it's not a
Phil Stein.
Prove
multi-million
it.
dollar thing to try to
Well,
prove.
hang
I
on,
don't
hang on.
believe
You
Does it
understand
does
that
it
you
need
can't
to be
Oh,
proven to
vacuum
prove
and
it?
other stuff.
But do you understand you can't compress the water?
Well, hang on. You
The
can't change the density
pressure
of the water.
exerted
Pressure.
on the water that's transferred to the egg, you can.
Yeah, but
Yeah, you can't change
you're
the
not. You're
compression.
gonna
The
only
compression.
all
of
you're
the-
gonna do by pressurizing the air is increase the stress on the container. You're not going to actually compress the water. You're not going to change the density buoyancy relationship between the water and the egg, no matter how much you increase the pressure of the water.
Exactly.
Well, the pressure
Yeah, but
in
if you
the
remove
egg
the
is
pressure-
contained,
If you
limited.
remove the
It's
pressure,
as
what you
well
would do
as
is
the
warm the
water.
water,
So it's
right?
not the relative
It's
density,
going
the
to
relative
exert a
density
different
buoyancy
force in the
relationship.
liquid that it's in.
You know, you're cutting me off, but I'm saying the relative density buoyancy ratio, the ratio that dictates that relationship is not going to change by adding air pressure.
Indeed,
'Cause you
because
can't
it only
compress-
does when you actually apply forces to them.
So when you
Mhm.
put something that's floating in a vacuum on the surface of water, it doesn't sink because of the reduced pressure in the water? It does.
No, it will
No?
function exactly the same.
Well, the water is going to boil if you put water in a vacuum, right? Because there's nothing to contain the molecules at the surface. So the water is going to boil and then it's going to freeze.
It also lowers the pressure on the surface.
Yeah, but that's not going to affect the buoyancy of an object floating on it. No, it won't.
Indeed. Exactly. You're exactly right, Dummy.
Because
Yeah,
all
it might do,
buoyancy
though. Hang on,
density
it might.
relations
They're
are talking about
validated.
just about displacement of mass. It's not about.
I think
None.
it's worth, you
potentially
know, and
could
it
do.
doesn't cost $1 million, you know. The
Well, you're the
tests
one making
solve
the
some
you're the one
other-
making the claim, so you do the experiment. And we'll see. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
sure
that-
other will, you know. I'm
Oh,
it's-
man.
Go ahead.
well,
I'd
I just
be
said,
happy
Sorry,
to
but
take your money
like
on
I
that.
say, all I'm saying is that the container is important in the demonstration of the salt in the solution. And also, if there were other variables, such as air pressure, it would affect where the egg sits.
Yeah, but
And
air
I
pressure.
disagree.
I'll probably find one online that someone's already done too.
All right, well, go and find it.
We'll see.
Yeah, because I think you're
I'll
misunderstanding.
drop it.
The
Oh, I'm
mechanism.
not. No.
You're misunderstanding the mechanism of buoyancy. That it's about displacement, not about compression, not about compressional forces.
It's not
So if
about
you have
pressure.
a log or a piece of wood on the water and you expose it to a vacuum, it won't sit higher on the water.
No,
No, but that's
What?
only because the buoyancy of what is above it becomes lower.
Wait, what did
no,
he say?
it won't
What did
get
he
higher
say?
on the water. It will not. I don't think it will. I
It will
really-
because
If
there's
you put it
less
in a
air
vacuum?
pushing against it.
In a
You said if you
vacuum,
put it in
the
a
water's
vacuum?
going to boil and then freeze,
Yeah.
and then the wood will be
Yeah,
sitting on
that-
top of
No,
that.
the
That's
water
true.
will boil and the
Well,
egg
you
will
don't
sit.
have to go to a full vacuum either to do tests, you know.
Indeed.
Well,
Not
then
always
what's the point
about
of putting it in a
extremes,
vacuum?
right?
No,
Just
I'm just
that
saying
knowing
sense
the
he is
differences.
correct, but
buoyancy
not-
is about displacement, not about pressure, pressure within the
Yeah,
substance.
but guys, gents, if you
it's
don't
the
mind,
gas
let me
pressure.
remind
If
folks-
something is lighter than
wait,
water,
wait,
then
wait.
there will be a buoyancy differentiation.
Let
But
me
if an
just
object
remind
is
folks that are
heavier than the
watching-
water, then it doesn't matter what the gas
Are we?
pressure above it will be. It will stay in the relational exact same position.
Yeah.
Let me just remind people watching what the purpose of that experiment was. And the purpose of it was to show that you do not need a force to change or to move the egg. You just need a little bit of salt in the water. So as John
No.
would say, the
No,
independent
it
variable
has
was the
nothing to
salt.
do with
That
it.
has
It wasn't the
nothing to do with
gravity.
the experiment.
What?
That has
Well,
nothing-
if you think of it, adding salt to the water increases the density of the water, or its, you know, its volumic mass, and it exerts a force on the egg that's retained by the walls of the container.
even though that's wrong,
That is the pressure effect of
there's still
buoyancy.
forces. There's still forces involved in that experiment, and that experiment was not done to disprove Newton's first law of gravity.
You're
Of,
just
Exactly.
You're adding
Exactly.
mass to the water,
You're
basically.
just displacing different amount of material once
Yeah.
you dissolve the salt. That's all.
This
All
guy
there-
really thinks that he disproved Newton's first law of motion with eggs dunked in
Yeah.
water. Like
That's
that's
exactly
just
what he did.
ridiculous.
That is
You
exactly
didn't do
what
it,
he
though.
did.
I'm sorry. You can try again.
It doesn't work.
No.
Then
Yeah,
the
did
buoyancy
anybody-
only functions if there is a pressure being applied to the matter.
You guys
Exactly.
saw it.
That was a
All he
cute
did was
try,
change
though.
the salt. That's all he did.
That was a cute try, though. Try again, though. You know.
What
You
do you mean
haven't
try
tried
again?
this
gravity
in
You don't
our
get
in
the
our
same result.
private hangout yesterday in detail. And you
haven't
ignored
turned
it.
gravity off. Yeah, I know he ignored it.
Yeah, well,
because
we didn't even
that's all I could
cover
do.
the separation of isomers on paper in vertical rows. All of the same atomic mass weights. You know, where's gravity?
No. What if? Hey, listen. Let's call them both
Okay.
Never
environments.
present.
Water,
But
wait,
when
wait.
you apply other
Water,
forces, the density and buoyancy rearranges itself according to the new forces being applied.
Well, James, I just want to see James, that the guy who's talking slow.
I posted it.
Okay, well, I'm curious now to see this experiment that if you increase this air pressure, you're going to change the, because I don't think that that's true.
Well, I'll check on that one, and in the interim, again, these
Well, no,
If you're wrong,
substances of
then
equal mass that separate vertically and horizontal rows on paper is a second thing. I'll look at that, you look at this video, and explain where gravity is used to
what
separate
that proved
horizontal
was
rows.
No, me.
the environment of an egg. No, man.
Yes.
So we still want to talk about putting a vacuum and air pressure over it. No, there's two environments.
Well, give me time to look it up, and you know, rather than argue in the wind, and you know, I'll see if I can find
Go
some
ahead.
video
Go
that's
ahead. I'll be looking forward to your proof.
force sinking relative to vacuum pressure, and you know, I should be ready with it tomorrow.
I got a good experiment. Maybe we can go up to Canada when they're floating logs down the river, and maybe we can put a vacuum over the Saskatchewan River and.
How are you going to do that? It's going to suck up the water.
Seriously, can we get back to reality? Can we get back to reality here and talk about a vacuum?
A reduced pressure.
What?
Reduced
What is that,
pressure.
supernatural?
You know,
Well,
there are a lot of
water
words that apply
is
to
vacuum.
stuff. You can apply a reduced pressure to a medium.
The experiment
The
proves
reduced pressure is not truly a vacuum in the sense that vacuum may be construed as extreme, you know? Like the
I'll find your proof. We got your theory.
but
Just
yeah,
wait.
Arwin,
talking relative to
Arwin,
pressure.
you understand that
Hard to
water
listen to, man.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Arwin, do you understand that water pressure has many different properties than air pressure?
Of course.
Okay.
Now this pressure is being caused by a force being applied.
Right. So what the experiment shows is that the environment, of the egg can be lighter than the environment of water with saline, made saline.
Yeah, I know. It just proves how density.
And I'm sure there might be a way to make an egg float.
Well, it would have to be hollow.
Right. Well, we're getting towards that way, but it's step by step.
There is an air sac at the end of an egg too.
It just proves density and buoyancy. It doesn't even apply.
No,
it has no relation because I'm not trying to disprove. I didn't try to disprove density and buoyancy because it is part of the
what it does show
function
is that no
in which
forces-
I am trying to prove that there are forces being applied. It's part of it.
Arwin, what it does show is that no force is required to make a movement, just a little bit of salt. That's the point that you're missing.
I think that's probably going to be the point that I round out. So with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do, but if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!